In the opening scene, a young girl named Eve sits alone in a hospital room, holding a blood-soaked ballerina music box. The melody spins slowly, a haunting reminder of her lost joy. Just hours ago, she had been dancing with her father Javier in the garden of their home. It had been a moment of happiness, smiles, laughter, and a house full of life. But everything changed when a group of assassins emerged from the water near the house. They shot arrows, killing the security guard in the middle of the night, then infiltrated the house. However, the father was a skilled fighter. Using smoke grenades, he neutralized some of the assassins with his martial arts skills, landing precise punches and kicks. He even threw enemies into the air, using their own guns against them. After taking down several, he managed to get his daughter to a hidden room with a secret bookcase door, then returned to fight the rest. Wounded and exhausted, he eventually succumbed to the attackers. They captured him and forced him to his knees. The chancellor of the assassins entered the room, his anger palpable, accusing him of being the cause of his daughter's death. He gave Javier a revolver with one bullet left and proposed two choices: kill himself and let his daughter live, or kill the chancellor and both he and his daughter would die. Javier hesitated, but for the sake of his daughter, he chose to end his own life. As Javier prepared to pull the trigger, his daughter, hidden behind the bookcase, screamed, "Papa!" The assassins rushed toward her, and in the chaos, Javier found new strength. He fought back, killing more of the assassins, and grabbed his daughter. They ran, dodging bullets as they fled. In their escape, they triggered a bomb, blowing the house to pieces. The chancellor assumed they were dead. He was wrong. Javier died from his wounds as he tried to leave the house, but his daughter was unharmed. Now, in the hospital, an old man approaches her and gently offers to take her to the family of her father. Things getting crazy? Let's dive into this heart-pounding thriller and unravel the secrets, betrayals, and deadly bonds hidden in the shadows of this story. Think you know the movie? Drop the name in the comments. Hit that subscribe button for more adrenaline-pumping movie breakdowns. In the shadows of the criminal underworld, a girl named Eve was born into blood and secrets. Her father, Javier, was a feared assassin tied to the clandestine Rusca Roma, and her mother, a zealous follower of a fanatical cult known for its ruthless devotion to an unnamed chancellor. But childhood for Eve was never meant to be peaceful. Javier, disillusioned with the cult's madness, tore her away from their grasp. In doing so, he condemned her mother to death, triggering a vendetta that would echo for years. The cult struck back with fury, raiding their New York hideout. Eve was taken in by Winston Scott, the enigmatic proprietor of the New York Continental. Knowing her blood tied her to the Rusca Roma, Winston delivered her into the hands of the director, a steel-hearted matron who forged killers and dancers alike in fire and discipline. 12 years passed. Under the alias Kikimora, a nod to a Slavic bogey woman, Eve was molded into a ghost of vengeance. She trained under the relentless eye of the director and her second, Nogi, dancing as gracefully as she killed. Along the way, she crossed paths with John Wick, who, haunted by his own past, tried in vain to warn her off the assassin's road. But for Eve, the path was never a choice. It was destiny. To graduate from the program, she was ordered to eliminate a fellow trainee, another child of the Roma who had failed her mission. Eve pulled the trigger. There was no applause, only silence. Her next task: protect a high-profile heiress. She succeeded, barely, only to be ambushed by a cultist shortly afterward. She killed her attacker, discovering the unmistakable mark of the cult on his body. The past had come calling. Against the director's warnings grounded in a fragile, decades-old truce, Eve went rogue. She returned to the Continental, seeking Winston's counsel. He revealed a lead: Daniel Pine, a renegade cultist with a bounty on his head, holed up at the Prague Continental. Intrigued and desperate for answers, Eve booked a room. In Prague, Eve stormed Pine's suite only to discover he wasn't alone. His daughter, Ella, was with him, hidden away from the cult that now hunted them both. The cult was watching. Their leader, Lena, doubled the bounty, and a bloodbath erupted. As assassins closed in, Pine entrusted Ella to Eve's care, vowing to reveal everything if she kept the girl safe. Their escape was short-lived. Dex, a brutal cult enforcer, shot Pine. Lena knocked Eve unconscious and abducted Ella. The Continental exacted punishment on the attackers, executing 2 assassins for breaking the rules. Eve, deemed a victim, was spared. But she was running out of allies. Desperate and armed, she sought out Frank, an old arms dealer in Manhattan. Just as she stocked up, the cult struck again. Bullets flew. Surrounded and outnumbered, Eve spotted the grenades, pulled the pins, and in a deafening instant, every attacker was gone. Frank survived, barely, and gave her a clue pointing to a remote Austrian village, Hallstatt, a picture postcard town hiding a nightmare. Upon arrival, Eve was ambushed. The entire village was a cult stronghold. She fought, but was eventually overwhelmed and dragged before the Chancellor. He recognized her as Ruska Roma. She made her intent clear, revenge. But he had revelations of his own. Daniel Pine had been his son, and Ella his granddaughter. And then came the bombshell. Lena, the cult's icy leader, was Eve's older sister. Eve barely escaped with her life, and in a desperate act of courage, Lena saved her. Through the chaos, Lena never stopped. She pursued Eve relentlessly, determined to protect her no matter the cost. Lena, with venom in her voice, revealed the truth. Javier left her behind during his escape, believing her too far gone, already a product of the cult's indoctrination. She never forgave him. The Chancellor, fearing betrayal, ordered both executed. Lena fell. Eve escaped barely. What followed was war. The Chancellor contacted the director, accusing the Ruska Roma of betrayal. In response, the director disavowed Eve as a rogue agent and made a move to prove her loyalty. She put a contract on Eve's life. And who else could she trust with the job but John Wick? John hunted her down in Hallstatt. They fought, fierce, brutal, unrelenting. But in the end, he spared her. He saw himself in her rage, her pain. She begged for time, to finish her revenge. He gave her until midnight. The final battle began. Eve carved her way through the cult like a demon unleashed. She torched the faithful with a flamethrower, turning their sanctum into an inferno. John, hidden in the distance, provided cover, most notably a well-placed bullet that ended Dex. The Chancellor tried to flee with Ella. Eve cornered him. He pleaded. He reasoned. She didn't care. One shot ended it. Ella was reunited with the recovering Pine at the Prague Continental. As for Eve, she returned to the city of glass towers and blood, New York. No longer Ruska Roma. No longer Kikimor. Just Eve. But the world would not forget. As she sat in the shadows of a ballet theater, watching the ghosts of her past dance across the stage, she received news. A $5 million bounty now rested on her head. She didn't flinch. She stood, silent, and walked into the night. And that's the end of this movie. Catch you next time for more action-packed stories.